Hello everybody and welcome back to another tutorial. In today's tutorial, we will be doing a jumbo Nyan Cat flat candy charm. This has been something that I have been requested to do since I've started this channel. Now, I know in the past I've said that my jumbo charms don't normally do that well. You guys aren't really into the big charms. I hope you don't mind that this is this week's tutorial. Now, if you are following along with me, buckle in because this is gonna take a while. Now, for your materials, we're gonna start with 120 inches of a 1mm stretch cord. As you guys have seen in a lot of my flat charm tutorials, you'll know that I love using plastic string for my flat charms. I don't know why, I just do. But when it comes to these really big ones, I don't recommend it just because the plastic elastic is not as strong and your Nyan Cat's gonna be really wobbly and it won't really be able to support itself. It'll just kind of like whoosh. But if clear elastic is all you have, there's nothing wrong with that. You are more than welcome to use it. I'm just giving you a warning that it's not you, it's the string if it starts to do that. The next thing we're gonna need is a total of 286 pony beads. We are going to need 99 black beads, that's gonna be for the outline, eyes, and mouth, 60 gray beads. We're gonna need 29 ivory beads, so that will be for the Pop-Tart piece. We're gonna need 41 pink beads, so that'll be for the inside of the Pop-Tart, along with 8 dark pink beads, so that'll be like the little speckles on the Pop-Tart. We're gonna need 6 blush beads. They can be the same colored pink as this, it doesn't matter. It can be whatever color. And for your rainbow, we're gonna need 9 red, 9 orange, 9 yellow, 4 green, 4 blue, and 8 purples. Now, for this tutorial, if you are a bit of a seasoned flat charm maker, you can make your rainbow as long as you want. After we're done getting through the base pattern, once we get about here, you can just keep adding on and you can make your rainbow as long as you'd like. I'm not here to stop you. But if you are following along with me directly with this pattern, then this is all the rainbow we're doing. Now we are going to jump right into this. I went ahead and cut out my string that I'm going to be using for this. I'm going to go ahead and take my string and I'm going to fold it in half. Now, as you can see, I have a little piece of pink washi tape at the top and I have nothing on the bottom. Now, for this, I normally say you don't have to put a piece of tape, but I would kind of recommend it because at least for me, I get confused. This is originally started for the tutorial, so it'd be easier for you guys to follow along so you know what the top and the bottom string are, but it also might be helpful for you too. To get started, we are going to add 2 black beads to top and bottom of our string. Going down both top and bottom, right down the middle, as I will call it, we're gonna add on a gray bead. Both top and bottom of our string, we're gonna go ahead and add on 2 gray beads. Going down the middle of our string, we're gonna add on 1 black bead. This will be your eye bead. Going down top and bottom of our string, we're gonna be adding on 2 gray beads. Going down the middle of our string, we're gonna be adding on a gray bead. On the top of our string, we'll be adding on a gray bead, and on the bottom, we'll be adding on a black bead. This will be the start of your Nyan Cat's mouth. Going down the middle of our string, we'll add on a gray bead. Both top and bottom, we'll be adding on gray beads. Going down the center of our string, we're gonna add on a black bead. This will be your Nyan Cat's second eye. On both top and bottom string, we'll be adding on the gray beads. Going down the middle, we're gonna add on a gray bead. Going top and bottom, we'll be adding on 2 black beads. Now we have the outline of our face done. Going down the center of our string, we're gonna be adding on one of our first regular pink beads. On the top part of our string, we're gonna add on one of our regular pink beads. And on the bottom of our string, we're gonna be adding on a dark pink bead. Going down the center of our string, we're gonna be adding on a pink bead. On both top and bottom, we'll be adding on regular pink beads. Going down the center of our strings, down both top and bottom, we'll be adding on a pink bead. And going top and bottom, we'll be adding on pink beads. Going down the middle, we're gonna be adding on an ivory bead. Going top and bottom, we'll be adding on black beads. Going down the middle of our string, we'll be adding on a black bead. On the top part of our string, we'll add on a black bead, and on the bottom of our string, we'll be adding on a gray bead. Going down the center of our string, we're going to be adding on a gray bead, and on both top and bottom, we'll be adding on a black bead. And that will complete our Nyan Cat's body. And now we're going to start with our rainbow. I'm going to be using some glittery beads because I wanted my rainbow to be transparent and glittery. Down the center of my string, I'll be adding on my green bead. On the top part of my string, I'll be adding on another green bead. On the bottom of my string, I'll be adding on a blue bead. Now, this is the part where if you want your rainbow to be longer, you are going to continuously follow this pattern. So you do a green bead on top, blue bead on the bottom, green bead on top, blue on the bottom, and so on and so forth. And you'll keep doing that for as long as you want your rainbow to be. And now we're going to go ahead and take this and we're going to let this drop all the way to the bottom. And I'm just letting this fall all the way down. And as you can see, as I'm letting this go, I am making sure I'm holding the tension. For this charm, we don't need any stretch really. Now, what I'm going to do from here is I am going to make sure that my string is not twisted up in on itself. So sometimes the string can kind of do this. And I'm just going to go through my beads. I'm going to also simultaneously pull them down, but I'm just going to make sure that none of my string is tangled up in on itself and twisted. Now from here, I want you to go ahead and check your progress. So this is the Nyan Cat's head, the body, and then the tail, and the rainbow piece. Feel free to go ahead and pause the video and make sure that our patterns match. Once we've confirmed that our patterns are matching, I am going to pull these beads down. Again, I want as little to no stretch as I possibly can, and I am going to go ahead and tie my two tails together. Go. And I'm going to give this about 3 ties. If you are using plastic elastic, please give this honestly about 6 ties because plastic string doesn't have a lot of tension, and the last thing you want is this support knot to come undone. Now that I have this tied off, I'm going to go ahead and actually remove my washi tape because at this point it doesn't matter. Okay, so if you are using plastic string, or even if you're using stretch string, you might notice that your piece might be curling in a bit, and that's okay, because as we start to build, it'll start to flatten out. So if yours is curling in a bit, especially if you're using plastic string, it's really gonna curl in. It's all right, don't panic. As you build, it should start to straighten out. If by like the 3rd or 4th row, and the top is not starting to straighten out, then you know you didn't pull your string tight enough, and you might need to go back. All right, so now for this part, it doesn't matter which side of the string we start with. I'm gonna take one side of my string with no bead attached. And remember, we're starting on the rainbow side. Your dark pink should be facing down. Your blue should also be facing down. And I'm gonna go ahead and take my string with no bead on and pull. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add on a green bead to my string. And I am going to weave it over into the black bead that's sticking up right next to it. Now for the first row, I'm gonna be pretty explanatory for you guys, but then after that, it's all the same steps, so I don't wanna keep repeating myself. All right, we're gonna go ahead and add on a black bead. We're gonna take our string and weave it through this black bead sticking up here, and we are going to pull. And make sure we're pulling tight. We're gonna go ahead and go back to another green bead. We're gonna place this onto our string, and we're going to weave it into the black bead that's standing up next to it. And we're going to pull. Remember to be pulling your strings tight. Next, we're gonna switch to one of our ivory colors, and we're gonna place the bead on our string, and we're gonna weave it over to the pink bead that's standing up next to it. And we are going to pull. Now switching over to one of our dark beads, we're gonna place the bead on the string, and we are going to weave it in to the pink bead that's standing up right next to it, and we're going to pull tight. We're gonna go ahead and add on one of our regular body pink beads, place it on the string. We're gonna weave it into the bead that's sticking up next to it, and we are going to pull tight. Switching over to one of our dark pinks again, placing that on the string and weaving it over into the black bead that's standing up next to it, and pull. For finishing off this row, we are going to be completing it with gray beads. So adding a gray bead onto our string and weaving it through that gray bead that's sticking up and pull. Adding a gray bead onto our string, weaving it over to the gray bead that's standing up next to it and pull. Adding a gray bead to our string, weaving it in the gray bead that's standing up next to it and pull. Remember to pull on your string tightly. Not enough where it's going to snap your string, but we really need to make sure that this stays as straight as we can so we can adjust this curve. Adding on a gray bead onto our string, weaving it into the neighboring gray bead standing up next to it and pull. Adding another gray bead onto our string, weaving it into the gray bead standing up next to it and pull. And for the final step of this row, we're going to add a gray bead onto the string, and we are going to weave it into the black bead that is standing up right next to it and pull. Okay, and like I said, I'm going to get a little less explanatory. We're going to go ahead and move on to a black bead. We're going to weave it upwards in this direction, going through the gray bead that we had just added. I'm going to hold this gray bead down and I'm going to pull this tight. And that will anchor in this bead on top. We're going to go ahead and add on a row of gray beads until we get to the black beads here. So adding on a gray bead and pulling and continuing until we get to this bead here. I'm coming up on my last gray bead here. I'm going to weave it through that gray standing up next to it, and I'm going to pull. I'm going to go ahead and add on a black bead to my string, and I'm going to weave it on over. Next, we're going to go ahead and add on 3 of our pink Pop-Tart colors. Coming up on my last pink bead for the row, I'm going to weave it through that ivory bead. And now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to one of my black beads. Going to place it on the string and weave it through that green bead. And we're going to go ahead and start adding some more colors to our rainbow, adding on 3 of our yellow beads. Now, when we get to the very last bead of this row, we don't have a bead to step up to like how we did over here. So we're gonna have to place the bead on our string and we're gonna have to weave it through a few other beads. Now the way that I'm about to weave the string is going to be pretty extra, and that is because the way that I normally weave the beads it doesn't look right on the side. So we're gonna go a little extra, so you're gonna have to follow with me here, okay? With our bead on our string, we're gonna take our string and we're gonna weave down into this green bead going in this direction. And pull. So now our goal is to get this string to be sticking out of this yellow bead. Now normally I'll have the string sit in between here, but it just looks weird. So I'm gonna take my string and I'm going to weave it through this green bead here, this green bead. We're gonna weave it back into this one and up through the yellow. Make sure that you are following the direction that I am going with my string. It is important. I'm gonna take my string and I'm going to weave it down into bead number 2. So it's gonna be diagonally down from that green bead that we are sticking out of currently, and I'm going to pull. I'm gonna take my string, I'm gonna go up through this green bead. We're gonna go in this direction, the one that's directly above it, and pull. Now I'm gonna go back down into this green bead here. So we're gonna go from here to here. And this would be bead number 3. And pull. And now we're gonna take our string and we're gonna go back up through that yellow bead just like that. I know it seems like a lot. Alrighty, now with our string sticking out of this yellow, I'm gonna go ahead and add on a yellow bead. We're gonna go ahead and add 3 yellow beads from here, here, and here. So just like how we were doing before and weaving through that yellow bead sticking up. With our 3 yellow beads added on, we're gonna go ahead and add on one of our ivory beads. And we're gonna add 1, 2, 3 of our regular pink body beads. With my 3 pink body beads added, add on a black bead to our string, and now we're gonna weave it into that gray bead next to it. And this is your friendly reminder to make sure that we are pulling on our string tight, my friends. And from here, we're gonna add 1, 2, 3, 4 gray beads into these gaps here. And to finish off the row, we're gonna go ahead and add on a black bead. And this is how our pattern should be looking so far. You see it all coming together? Now for here, we're actually gonna leave this gap blank. So we're gonna have to weave our string and make sure it goes back through this black bead, just like how we did over here. I'm gonna take the string and I'm gonna weave it through beads number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Make sure that we are following the direction that I am going with my string. My string should be sticking out of this side black bead here. I'm gonna take my string and I'm gonna weave it down through that black bead, going through the side. I'm gonna take my string, I'm gonna go down into this gray bead, so bead number 2. We're going in on this side here. We're gonna go up through this gray bead here. So we're gonna go in from this side and pull. And finally, we're gonna go up through that black bead and pull. So our string should be sticking out of this black bead here. We're gonna go ahead and fill in these 2 gaps here with some gray beads. Adding on a black bead and filling in this gap. And adding on 2 more gray beads to fill in these gaps here. We're gonna go ahead and take 2 of our regular pink body colors and we're gonna fill in these 2 gaps here. We're gonna go ahead and switch to one of our dark pink beads and we're gonna weave it through and finishing off with one of our body colored pink beads. We're gonna go ahead and fill in this gap using a black bead. And we're gonna fill in these 1, 2, 3 gaps with the rest of our yellow beads. And we're gonna run into that wonky bead again where we have nowhere to weave into, so we're just gonna have to do what we did before, weaving in through these 4 beads here. So beads number 1, 2, 3, and then weaving back through bead number 4. So weaving through this bead through the side, weaving down into the green, weaving up through the yellow, weaving back down into this yellow here, and we're gonna go right through that yellow we had just added. All right, we're gonna go ahead and fill in these 3 gaps with our orange beads now. I'm gonna go ahead and add on one of my ivory beads. And we're gonna add 1, 2, 3 pink beads to fill in these gaps. So all of our regular body pink beads. We're gonna go ahead and add on a black bead to fill in this gap here. We're gonna add on a gray bead. We're gonna add a black bead, another black bead, adding a gray bead, and finally adding on a black bead, and we're gonna run into one of those wonky beads again. So you guys already know the drill. We're gonna go ahead and take our string, we're gonna weave it down, going through the side of this black bead here. And now we just need our string to stick back up through this one. So we need to weave up, down, back through this black bead, and up through this bead again. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So weaving up diagonally through that gray bead, weaving back down into this gray bead, weaving back through this black bead here, and back up through the black bead. We're gonna start off with a gray bead, filling in the gap here. We're gonna add a black bead, adding on one of our body pink beads. So one of our regular guys, filling that blank there. This is your reminder, make sure we are pulling on the string. Adding on a black bead, adding a gray bead. We're gonna go ahead and add on one of our body pink beads here. We're gonna add on one of our dark pinks, filling in the next 2 gaps with our regular Pop-Tart body pink. Adding on a black bead. And we're gonna fill in for 1, 2, 3 of our orange beads. And you guys already know the drill. We're running into one of those wonky beads again. So taking our string, weaving it through the side of that yellow bead and pulling, weaving up through this orange, back down into the yellow, up through this yellow again, and then through this orange bead. So beads number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm gonna go ahead and take my candy. I'm gonna turn it to the side here just to help me out a bit. Gonna weave through the side of this orange bead here and pull. Gonna weave down into this yellow and pull, back through the yellow and pull, and through the orange and pull. All right, we're gonna fill in our next 3 gaps with those orange beads. Filling in here with one of our ivory beads. And we're gonna fill in these 3 gaps with our regular pink beads. All right, it looks like I'm gonna have to add on a little bit more string to mine. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and fill in the next 2 gaps with black beads. We're gonna go ahead and add on one of our dark pinks. We're gonna add on one of our ivory color beads. And adding on 2 more black beads. And guys, it is that time again. Remember, taking our string, weaving it through the side of this black bead right down here and pulling. And do you guys remember the pattern? We're gonna weave up, back down, back through the black bead, and then through this black bead. So beads number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now our string should be sticking out of this black bead here. We're gonna go ahead and fill in our first gap with a black bead. We're gonna go ahead and add on another black bead, weaving it through that ivory one. And the next 2 gaps, we're gonna fill in with our regular pink Pop-Tart beads. We're gonna fill in the next gap with a black bead. We're gonna go ahead and fill in 1, 2, and 3 with our regular pink bead, so the next 3 gaps. And finishing off the last one with our dark pink bead. We're gonna go ahead and add on a black bead. And we're gonna fill in 1, 2, and 3 with our red beads. Now I am silly goofy and I bought the wrong kind of red transparent beads. I meant to buy the glittery ones, but these ones don't have any glitter, so it was not intentional. It's just what I had. And you guys know the drill. Do we remember the pattern? Take our string, weave it through the side of this orange one directly down. All right, we're gonna weave up through this orange, down through the orange, back through this orange, and up through the red. So going through beads number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Making sure that we follow the direction that I am going with the string, going through the side of the first bead, going back down, going through the orange again, and up, back through that red bead. We're gonna go ahead and fill in these 3 gaps with our red beads. And for the next 8 beads, we're just gonna be doing the ivory beads. So for every gap, we're just gonna be doing ivory. Coming up on my last ivory bead here. And yay, we don't have to do a funny bead trick for this one. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm going to add on a black bead onto my string, and I'm going to weave it back up through that ivory bead that we had just added. And then, once again, we're gonna be adding on all of these ivories until we get to the black bead here. So we're gonna add on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ivory beads. Coming up on my last ivory bead here, I am going to go ahead and add on one of my black beads. I'm going to go ahead and weave it through that red, and then I'm going to fill in the next 3 beads with the rest of my red rainbow. All right, taking my string, weaving it back down through the red bead, just like that. All right, and just like before, weaving it up through beads number 1, 2, 3, and 4, following the direction that I am going with my string. All right, so now what we're gonna have to do is, since our rainbow is finished, I'm going to take my string and I'm going to weave it through these beads here until I get to the black bead. So I need to go down through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. So just zigzagging it across essentially. Coming up here on my black bead. Oh Lord, I'm gonna have to add more string. All right, now we are going to go ahead and add on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 black beads to this row. So we're gonna go ahead and fill those out now. I'm coming up on my last black bead for the row. Gonna go ahead and weave that through. We're gonna leave this gap here, so we're gonna have to do the bead trick, but a little different this time. We're gonna take our string, we're gonna weave it through the side of our black bead, just like we were doing before, and we're gonna pull. And I'm gonna take my string, I'm gonna weave down into this ivory bead, back up through this ivory bead, and then through this bead here. So taking that string, weaving it through, weaving it up through the ivory bead, going through this side. And weaving it up through that black bead here. And now we're gonna go ahead and fill in the gaps of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 beads, all with black. Coming up on my last black bead here, gonna go ahead and weave it through the side and pull, and we have the top of our Nyan Cat done. I'm gonna go ahead and tie this off. The way that I'm going to do that is I'm gonna take my string, and do you see there's kind of like a gap in between these 3 beads here? I'm gonna take my string, I'm gonna push it through that gap, and it should come out on the other side. This will create a little loop here. I'm gonna take my string and I'm going to pull it through that loop, and I'm going to pull. I'm gonna pull this pretty tight. We don't wanna snap this string, but we wanna make sure it holds. I'm gonna do this about 3 or 4 times. If you're using plastic string, I would recommend you do it about 6 to 7 times. Tying this for the final time. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut off this extra string. And now we just need to start working on the bottom. Okay, so I preemptively went ahead and added some more string because apparently my math was just not mathing when I first measured it. I don't know where I got that measurement from, but I did. I must have messed up along the way. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start at the bottom of our Nyan Cat. We're gonna take the other side of our string and we're gonna weave it through that blue bead and we're gonna pull. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add on one blue bead for our rainbow. And I'm gonna weave it through here and pull. And we're gonna go ahead and add on a black bead next. Adding on a gray bead. We're gonna go ahead and add on one of our ivory beads. We're gonna add on our last dark pink bead. For the next two gaps, we're gonna go ahead and add on our regular body color pink. Now, for the next part, I'm going to add on one of the blush colors. So like I said, I use a different pink. It's ever so slightly lighter than this pink. You don't have to do that. You can use the same pink. I'm just extra. I'm gonna go ahead and add 1, 2, 3, 4 gray beads into the gaps. And with my 4 gray beads added, I'm gonna go ahead and add on another blush. I'm gonna weave it through that black bead. Going back down, don't worry, we don't have to do any bead tricks yet. And then we're gonna go ahead and add on one of our little blushies. We are going to add 3 black beads into these gaps, and this will be for the mouth, just in case you're doing different colors. Coming up on my last black bead, I'm going to go ahead and add on another blushy color next. After my blush color, I'm gonna go ahead and add on a black bead. This is your reminder, make sure that we are pulling your string tight, my friends. For the next 1, 2, 3 beads, we're just gonna be adding on our regular pink beads. Gonna go ahead and add on a gray bead. Switching over to one of our black beads. And we're gonna go ahead and add on our last 2 blue beads. I told you it wasn't over yet with the bead tricks. We're gonna go ahead and take our string, weave it through the bead that's right underneath of it, that blue going right through the side. And just like before, we're gonna go through beads number 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're gonna be weaving up through the green. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my candy to the side just because it helps me a little bit better. So up through that green, going through the side. Going back through this blue right above the green. So it's the same thing that we were doing before. We're gonna go back through that blue bead. And up through this blue bead here and pull. Okay, my friends, we're getting there. I'm gonna go ahead and add on one of my purple beads for the rainbow. This time we're just gonna do 2 instead of the 3. We're gonna go ahead and switch to one of our black beads. Gonna go ahead and add on one of our ivory beads next. Filling in the next 1, 2, 3 gaps with our basic pink body beads. Adding on a blush color, weaving it through. We're gonna add on a gray color. This is your reminder, make sure that we are pulling the string tight. For the next 2 beads, we're gonna be finishing off the mouth with our black beads, or if you chose a different color. Adding on one of our gray beads. And we're gonna go ahead and add on our last blush color. Going down to the next row, starting off strong with a black bead. Our next 5 beads, we're just gonna fill in all the gaps with gray beads. Coming up on my last gray bead here, I'm going to go ahead and weave it through. Our next bead is going to be a black bead. Our next 3 beads are going to be ivory color beads. So we're going to fill in the next 3 gaps with just ivory. We're going to go ahead and add on a black bead. Filling in our next 3 beads with our purple. And here it is again, our funny little bead. Remember, we're going to go up through this blue, going right through the side. And we're going to do the same thing going through the 4 beads. So up through the blue, through the purple, back through the blue, and back up through this purple. I'm going to pick my candy up and turn it to the side just to help me a bit. I'm going to pinch it like that. Going up through that purple, up through the blue, and back through our purple bead. Alrighty, my friends, we are super duper close. I'm gonna go ahead and add on 3 purple beads to fill in these gaps. The next bead, we're gonna go ahead and add on a black bead. For the next 1, 2, and 3 beads, we're gonna go ahead and add on our ivory colored beads. We're gonna go ahead and add on a black bead. We're gonna add 1, 2, 3, 4 gray beads. And for our final bead, we're gonna add on a black bead. We are going to leave this gap here empty, but we still want our string to be sticking out of this bead here. So we're gonna have to take our string, we're gonna weave through the side of the black bead here and pull. We're gonna weave up through the blush bead here, over to this bead, and up this bead. So beads number 1, 2, and 3. So following the direction of the string that I'm going. So I'm gonna start on the side here and pull. I can't have you up here. I know you wanna chew on the string, but you can't. Typical cat things. You can't have my string. I'm sorry, baby. We're gonna go through the side of this pink bead here. And we're gonna go back through this black bead here. Now, for this next part, this entire row is going to be black beads. We are going to add our last black bead here that's in between this purple and this black. So this is where you're going to stop. So we're gonna go ahead and fill in this entire row with black beads up to here. And now we're gonna go back through and we're essentially gonna be doing the same thing over again. So I'm gonna add on a black bead to my string and I'm going to weave it through this bead here, going through the side, so no special bead trick. I'm gonna add on a gray bead. I'm gonna weave it through that black one here. And for the rest of the row, I'm going to be filling it in with black beads and I am going to stop once I get here. Okay, so things are gonna get a little interesting when we're adding on the feet, but I promise you we're almost there. We're gonna need to take our string, it needs to come out of this bead here. So we are going to take our string and we are going to weave it up through this gray bead, we're gonna weave it through the side. And then we need to go down into this gray bead, going through this side, going through this gray bead, going this direction, and back through the black bead going in this direction. So beads number 1, 2, and 3, following the direction of my string. And weaving through that black bead here. Now our string should be sticking out of here. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add on 1 gray bead for the foot. And then we're going to skip this gap. So I'm gonna take my string, I'm going to weave up through this black bead here. And I'm going to weave back down into the black bead that's diagonal from it. And then we're gonna add on another gray bead. Now I am going to skip all of this. We're gonna leave a big gap until we get to here. And when we get to here, we're gonna go ahead and add on a gray bead. So we're gonna go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then down into 6. So these 6 beads we're gonna weave through. That bead right there. And then we're gonna add on another gray bead for his other foot. And then we're gonna weave it through that black bead here. And then we're gonna add on another black bead. We're gonna weave it through his little foot here. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add on our last gray bead, weave it through the side here and pull. And we're gonna go back down, no fancy bead trick here, adding on our black bead, weaving it through that gray bead we just added and pull. We're gonna go ahead and add on another black bead, weaving it through that black bead sticking up right next to it. Adding on a black bead, weaving it through that bead sticking up next to it. And adding on one more black bead. Now we have no bead to weave into. So we're gonna have to take our string and we're gonna weave it through the side of the black bead here. So just like kind of like what we were doing before. We're gonna pull. Now we're gonna take our string and we're gonna weave it up into the ivory color that's right above it. And we're gonna pull. And then we're gonna go back down to that black bead and pull. Now we're gonna take our string and we're gonna weave it over to this bead here. And it's gonna get a little interesting again, but trust the process, trust the process. We are going to zigzag just like what we were doing before, like when we were zigzagging through those reds, for example. Okay, so our string is going to be sticking out of this black bead here. But we need to add a black bead, but we have no bead to weave into. So we're gonna add on a black bead to our string. And we're gonna go back this way through our black bead. So we're gonna weave just like that, right through it and pull. That will pin that down. And then we're gonna take our string, we are going to weave up through this gray bead going in this direction. Just like that. We're gonna weave through this gray bead in this direction, so the one right above it, and pull. And we're going to go diagonally down into this gray bead here. We're going to weave through this black bead, going through the side like this. So I'm going to turn it a bit here and pull. And finally, I'm going to weave through the side of that gray bead just like that. I can add on another black bead. And once again, we're gonna run into this funny bead. So we're gonna take our string, we're gonna weave through the side of his black bead here and pull. Weave up through the gray bead right above it, going through the side like that. Weaving down into this black bead here and pull. Weaving up through this black bead here and pull. We're going to go ahead, add on a black bead to our string. We are going to take our string, we're going to weave it back through this black bead here, just like that. See a pattern here? We're going to weave back up through this gray bead here. And make sure we're pulling. We're going to take our string, we're going to weave up through the black bead right above the gray bead. We're going to weave down diagonally into the gray bead here. Through the side here of our black bead that's right underneath of us. And pull. Going back through the gray bead. And adding on a black bead. And then going through the side of this black bead here. And now we are going to do that bead trick that we were doing before, the one that feels very familiar to us. We're going to go up through this black bead, through this gray bead, back through the black bead, and then through this bead, just like how we were doing before. I can already smell the comments from a mile away about how many people are going to tell me that it crashed out at the feet. I just know it. I just know it. And back through that black. Oh my goodness, that was a pain. I am so sorry for that. We're gonna go ahead and add on a black bead. Weave it through that black bead, sticking up to close off his little pleats. And we're gonna take our string. We're gonna weave through the side of the black bead that's above it. They look like little flowers. We're going to weave up through the gray bead. Down into the black bead here. We're going to weave up through this gray bead here. Weaving down through this black bead here. Back down through this black bead here. Adding on a black bead. Weaving it through the bead that's sticking up next to it and pull. Taking our string, we're going to weave through the bead that's right on top of it. And pull. I am so sorry. We're gonna weave up through the gray. We're gonna weave all the way over to this bead here. So we're gonna weave through all of these beads here. We're going to weave up through the ivory bead, diagonal from the black bead right here. weaving down into this black bead here and through this black bead here. Oh, adding on a black bead to our string, weaving it through that black bead, sticking up, weaving up through this black bead here, weaving down through this black bead here, and finally adding on our final black bead and weaving it through his foot right here, and ta-da! You have your very own Nyan Cat flat candy charm. At what cost? Alrighty, my friends, so we're gonna go ahead and tie this off. The way that I'm going to tie this off is I'm going to take my string and I am going to take it, I'm gonna loop it right underneath that little loop of string right here. So I want my string to be right up against that loop. This will make a bigger loop. I take my tail and I pull it through, and I'm gonna pull, and that will tie everything together for us. If you are not a master at the peyote stitch by the end of this video, I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna tie this off about 3 to 4 times. If you're using plastic elastic, you're gonna wanna tie this off about 6 or 7 times. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the string here, and look at him. We did it. Alrighty, my friends. I know that was a bit tricky, but thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helping anyone who is looking to learn how to make one of these jumbo Nyan Cat candy charms. I'm gonna go ahead and put my email up here. Sometimes you guys like to send me the creations you make using my tutorials, and I like to put it at the end of the video, at the end cards. My email has been flooded and I love it so much. So I used to just do one picture, and now I think I'm gonna have to start cycling through. Alrighty, my friends, if you guys have any questions, comments, or feedback, please leave them in the comments below. Your feedback really helps the channel grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye-bye!